Thank you for going the extra mile to be here. It's greatly appreciated. My name is Matt Hagman, and I have the great pleasure of working here at Miami-Dade Beacon Council and the opportunity to lead an effort called Opportunity Miami. And you're part of something that is an experiment that we've been doing now. This is really our sort of third, I guess you could say, of conversations around our future, right? And back in September, we were with Alejandro Portes, the Princeton professor, and Daniel was there, talking about Miami as an emerging global city, in the context of Singapore and Dubai. And last month, we had Reshma Sohoni of Seed Camp, the leading early stage venture capital firm in Europe, who now lives here in Miami. And today, we have the great pleasure of being with Daniel Betts, the CEO of Blue Frontier. And we're going to have what should be a really, really fun and engaging conversation. We're going to do a couple things. One, just give you a little bit of background about Beacon Council and Opportunity Miami so you know what it is and have that context. Two, we always like, and this is always a dangerous thing, just to know who's in the room, right? So what we'll quickly do is just name and title. That's it. So no bios. So, we just go really quickly, one breath, and go around. And then, of course, we're going to introduce our CEO, Rod Miller. And then we'll go into a conversation, and we'll talk for about 30 minutes, Q&A for you for 15 minutes, 11:30 hard stop, right? We want to be very respectful of everyone's time. And hopefully, we leave a little different than when we arrived, right? From this conversation, so we think about where we're going next. So very quickly, Beacon Council is the economic development organization for Miami Private Partnership. Beacon Council was formed almost 40 years ago, and its founding was built on recruiting companies to Miami, helping them expand across Miami, help diversify and grow our economy. And Beacon Council launched an effort previously called One Community, One Goal. That was all about where does Miami go next as we think about our economic future, as we try to look down the road. And 2 years ago, I had the great pleasure in joining here of joining an effort to reimagine that. And what we came up with is a new initiative called Opportunity Miami. And the whole idea is to imagine the Miami of 2040, what we would like that to look like as we think about the child today, as you're dropping off, for those of you children dropping off your child at school this morning, what is that Miami you would like them to find when they're entering the workforce, right? And so that's about 2040 is about when that time is, and what can we do now to build it? And as we're going to talk about, one of the things that we hit upon at the outset when we launched Opportunity Miami 2 years ago is sustainability and the transition to a net zero economy, right? And seeing that really as the business opportunity of our lifetime and something that we in South Florida can really own and lead. And we have the company that is leading that effort more than any other in South Florida, as we're going to talk about. So with that, this is always a dangerous game, but what we're going to do is very quickly go right down, and everyone, you say your name, and if you wish to name a company, or just say your name, cool too, and with that, we'll get started.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Jesus Medina. I'm a scientist and biobanker for precision medicine. I'm the Director of Government Affairs.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Nicolas Mongardini. I'm VP for Silverback Earth.
Good morning. My name is Stefan Wolf, Green Builder at Mangrove Contracting.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Christina Slezinska. I'm the Executive Director of the Florida chapter of the European American Chamber of Commerce. We connect Americans and Europeans that want to do business.
Good morning. My name is Christy Gidcombe, and I'm Strategy Consulting.
Morning, my name is John Thompson, and I'm a Senior Account Supervisor with RBB Communications.
Morning, Cindy Lerner, former Mayor of Pinecrest, current candidate, County Commission.
Hello, Osvaldo Guillo, Chemistry, University of Miami.
Good morning, my name is Miriam Nissen. I am the co-founder and CEO of Supply Chain Stage.
Hello, everyone. My name is Derek Piotr, and I'm the CEO of Solar First.
Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. My name is Evros Silogenis from Management Action. Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudia Akel. I initiate and go for initiatives on the Sustainable Development Goals through businesses and nonprofits.
Good morning, everybody. Ricardo Lopez. I'm a power conversion system, business development.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jason Belisario. I'm a partner of a local hotel company called At Mine Hospitality.
Hi, I'm Tom Roses, and I'm an investor.
Hi, good morning. Gloria Romero Roses, shareholder of Climate First Bank.
I'm Heidi Stenmark. I'm an investment analyst at Nextwell.
Morning, my name is Jamie. I'm a programmer.
Morning, my name is Herschel Meadow. I'm an engineer at Ford Catalyzer, building medical devices.
Hello, my name is Leo Azuela from Quaxar and Evolution Code.
Hello, I'm Ivan Rappin-Smith, Managing Director of Wasco Ventures and a fanboy of Matt Hagman and Rod and James at Beacon Council.
Hey, I'm Galen Troyer. I lead Climate Tech and Economic Innovation for Miami-Dade County.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Yadira at Gradable.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dinier. I'm the head of marketing at Blue Frontier. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Hi, I'm Samuel Locher.
Hi, good morning. I'm Julia D'Amico with the X Prize.
Hi, I'm Yogi from Startup FIU. I work in innovation and research commercialization.
My name is Cristina Pucaterra, and I work for Premios Verdes, and I'm corporate consultant.
Joshua Jumeirah, just a consultant.
And then no one gets left out.
Hi, everybody. My name is Shlomi Ron, and I'm the founder of the Visual Storytelling Institute.
Good morning, James Kosam with the Beacon Council.
James leads economic development. So if you want to bring someone here, expand here, James is you.
Suzette LeBoy with Opportunity Miami.
Stan Garcia with Opportunity Miami.
And so it's my great pleasure, before we get started, to introduce our CEO of Beacon Council, Rod Miller. Rod, if you want to say a few words.
I'm not going to say a lot because I want to get right into this discussion. Welcome to the Beacon Council. We're so glad to have you here. Lots of great work ahead. Please connect with us at beaconcouncil.com or on Opportunity Miami. We're part of the same organizations, but we're just two sides of the same coin. We focus on the here and now, and Opportunity Miami focuses on the future. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Rod. Okay, so we're going to jump in, have a little conversation, and then, but you guys be thinking of your questions. Daniel, please join us. I guess here, do you want to sit right here? So for a very quick introduction, and I'll start throwing out some questions. Daniel is originally from Panama, went off to the University of Florida, where he got an MBA and a PhD in mechanical engineering, entered the energy field, as we're going to talk about. But some extraordinary things have been happening lately since he launched a startup in 2017, Blue Frontier. And that's that about 2 months ago, the MIT Technology Review named there are 15 climate tech companies to watch in the world. Right? Daniel's Blue Frontier is one of them. And of course, Daniel, in terms of in the world of climate tech, Daniel is not someone who, while many of us are still learning about Daniel, welcome, hey Mika, come on in, that it was a year ago when Breakthrough Energy Ventures, the Bill Gates VC fund that is focused on climate tech, led a $20 million round into Blue Frontier. So with that giving some background on Daniel in the company, Daniel, just wanted to kick this off by you telling us what is the product that Blue Frontier is building and what's the problem you're trying to solve, and welcome.
Well, it's an incredible honor and a pleasure to be here. Blue Frontier is revolutionizing air conditioning. And I have a question for the audience. How many of you think or have ever thought boy, air conditioning, we should really revolutionize that stuff, right? How many? Okay, good. So we have a, these are, yeah, these are my fellow nerds. I like it. But I was sort of in the camp of I didn't pay too much attention to air conditioning per se. Um, just just 10, 12 years ago. Um, like you said, I got a PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Florida. I concentrated in thermal sciences, and my passion ended up being in power generation, advanced power generations. I worked in hydrogen and fuel cells and batteries and things like that. And the more I worked in that space, I started realizing that I was always powering one very annoying electrical load, which was air conditioning. So when you do buildings, the largest peak load was air conditioning. And that meant that everything that I built, everything I was designing, everything I was putting together was being sized for the air conditioner. From when I started doing telecommunication towers, when I did citywide planning for power generation, renewable energy implementation, when we looked at even what would be, what is the one of the largest power draws that creates in battery electric vehicles, the feeling of range anxiety because of variable range that you get. It's being driven by this air conditioning load. So I started talking about it, and that led to people asking questions about, hey, tell me more about air conditioning. Why are you having so much trouble with it? And I started realizing that it wasn't just me. Everybody that was working in the power generation and industry hated the air conditioning load. And eventually I stumbled upon National Renewable Energy Labs, where I was giving a talk about.
Where are they? And
Oh yeah, National Renewable Energy Labs. Thank you. It's a Department of Energy national laboratory. They have these centers of excellence laboratories where they do all sorts of work, advanced science work. And this one is in Golden, Colorado, and they concentrate in renewable and advanced energy technology that both on the consumption side and then on the production side for renewable, mostly renewable and very high efficiency energy. This is one of the things that the US is amazing at, right? We live in one of the most amazing countries in the world. And one of the reasons is because we fund these innovation centers. And in one of these innovation centers, National Renewable Energy Labs, in a corner lab, there's this group of people that were working on ultra efficient air conditioning technology, being given very small amounts of money to create ideas that could change the world. And I stumbled upon them, and I'll tell you a funny story. Sorry, so there was a drunk man, and it's at night, and he is looking around in the ground, and a policeman comes along and says, what are you doing? And he said, sorry, sir, I've lost my keys. I said, okay, I can help you find them. And the policeman says, okay, but where did you lose them exactly? He said, over there. And the policeman says, but why are you looking here? And I'm looking here is because that's where the light is, right? And so that happens a lot, right? So I was looking for solutions for air conditioning by figuring out how to make power systems more efficient. But the solution, the key was in the darkness where no one was putting much money in, which was changing the air conditioner itself. And I found my key at NREL.
And by the way, and why this really matters is that we were talking beforehand with Rod that about half, thereabouts. Is this right? Of the energy used here in South Florida, about half it goes to air conditioning.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why something like this really matters.
Yeah.
So talk about what is the technology in a Blue Frontier air conditioning unit that makes it so. What makes this so different?
So the technology uses a salt solution to drive the air conditioning process, and so it's changing the fundamental physics of what the air conditioning systems that we use today. We use what is called a vapor compression cycle to create cooling. And let me explain really quickly what a conventional air conditioner is doing. So it grabs a refrigerant that soaks up the energy from inside the room, the heat from inside the room, and it pushes it to outside the room. So it's pumping heat from inside your room to the outside of your room through a electric compression. So you compress this gas and changes its temperature and pressure in order to do this. What that means is that you're pushing heat from inside your building to heat that is outside the building. The hotter it is outside, the more difficult it is for you to push that heat out. And the other thing is, well, that means that as the temperatures outside increase, as it does here in Florida, but not just here, but around the world, the electricity consumption associated with air conditioning grows, and the capacity of your air conditioner to keep you cool drops. So that is the standard technology. By changing the physical phenomena that creates this air conditioning process for us to a salt solution, we actually have a system whose efficiency rises and its cooling capacity rises the hotter it is outside. So that makes it future-proof, right? So it's giving you what you need with less energy the more you need it. But there's more. Not only is air conditioning a major electricity consumer, but it consumes it at the wrong time. So we all turn on our air conditioners at the same time when it's becoming hot. And that drives the peak load. So if this summer was the hottest summer on human record, right? Around the world, we beat temperature records here in Florida, but around cities in the United States, we beat temperature records. And around the globe, temperatures are being record temperatures are being recorded, and which means that the conventional air conditioning systems are all turning on at less efficiency than before, with less cooling capacity than before. That means that they're running longer periods of time. And on the other side, the utility that is trying to give you electricity to power this increased load is having trouble doing it. And that's because temperature also drives the efficiency of our power generation and transmission infrastructure. So solar panels drop in efficiency when it's hot. Gas turbine engines drop in efficiency when it's hot. Transmission and distribution lines drop in efficiency and in capacity to drive electricity when it's hot. So the hotter it is, the less electricity you can push in, and the more electricity you're consuming, creating problems of reliability of the electric grid. So back to Blue Frontier's technology. We have energy storage embedded in our unit through the salt solution. So the salt solution is the thing that drives the air conditioning process, and we can store it and change its concentrations and make the physics that makes air conditioning work for us happen at any time and at any rate during the day without impacting when we are providing air conditioning to the space, which means that we can tie our electricity consumption to the periods of time when renewable energy is widely available and not when renewable energy is not available, decarbonizing air conditioning. We can also make the air conditioning systems in your buildings more robust, because if there's any problems with the electricity grid, we will still be able to provide air conditioning to the building. And also, it allows us to eliminate the peak load from entire cities. Wide-scale deployment of our system eliminates the problem of the peak load during the heat wave. In fact, we like to say we make heat waves go away, right? And that's hyperbolic, but it has different components that I think give it merit. One is, we will give you air conditioning when you need it the most, at the least amount of electricity and cost when you need it the most. So we give you the aspect of you'll be cool during those periods of time. But also, we are eliminating the problem of the grid infrastructure associated with the renewable energy infrastructure that is necessary for us to get to zero greenhouse gas emissions, that is necessary to stop the heating planet. So by decarbonizing air conditioners, we solve the infrastructure requirements on buildings, on the utility, and on the decarbonizing side, reducing the effects of global warming today and into the future.
Wow, we can all say we were here then, right? When years down the road in a different world, we can talk about how we remember having this conversation with the entrepreneur who laid out what this was going to look like. So let's just talk for a minute, sort of what this would be, the lived experience. Welcome, you guys. The lived experience for all of us, for a building owner that's using a Blue Frontier unit. Is it that it's cheaper, uses less energy, and quieter? What's the way to describe what it would be like to use it and live it?
So there are a lot of benefits here. So I'm going to just enumerate some of my favorite ones. One is, we're experiencing it right now in this building. So the temperature in this building is actually quite low. Like, I can feel that the temperature is low. But the humidity is very high. And that's because the conventional air conditioner is very bad at dealing with humidity. So I'm wearing this jacket. I don't know about you guys. I am cold everywhere. My face is exposed, but I'm sweating a little bit here in the back. That's typical of the air conditioning experience here in South Florida, because we live in a high humidity environment. Your air conditioner is just doing nothing about it, or very little about it. We eliminate humidity, we dehumidify, and then cool the air in our technology, which means that I can dial in humidity points, not just temperature points, giving you comfort in levels that you cannot even imagine. So you'll get a better air conditioner. We also increase outdoor air ventilation into spaces without incurring into an energy penalty, which means that you'll live in indoor spaces that are not vectors of communicable diseases. You'll live in healthier environments. So that's the user's experience. You'll have intelligent air conditioner that is better at dehumidifying, better at hitting your comfort points, better at keeping indoor air qualities high. From a buying experience, and this is actually my favorite, one of the motivators for me of this technology is that in history, things change when technology changes the rules of the game. And we are taking advantage of the rules that we're about to change by creating enormous energy efficiencies in the air conditioning space of more than 50% reductions in energy consumption, and up to more than 90% reductions in energy consumption compared to the conventional air conditioner. What that means is that I'm going to create energy savings or electric bill savings to people that are enormous. But moreover, I am making air conditioning part of the grid infrastructure because I am embedding energy storage into your building, which means that air conditioning is eliminating the cost of putting infrastructure that you are already paying for through your electric utility bill. I can make that cheaper. All this incredible value allows me to create new business models for air conditioning deployment that are not based on just selling you a unit. I can create air conditioning as a service, which can be a fee for just obtaining the air conditioner. I can do rate basing of air conditioning together with a utility partner, which would mean that the air conditioner is almost zero cost to acquire. And in doing things like this, I can eliminate the capital cost of the unit. From an equity and inclusion standpoint, that's really, really important. The number one reason people don't get advanced energy technology or don't have access to advanced energy technology for their buildings is because the capital cost of the unit and lack of access to financing for high capital cost equipment in their building. If I eliminate the need from a building owner to have to acquire financing to install advanced energy technology, I enable that technology to go everywhere. And that's ultimately what we want to do, is to have citywide deployment of our units everywhere, eliminating the barriers that prevent people from acquiring it, and therefore bringing wide-ranging all these benefits to the entire population, not just the wealthiest of the wealthiest.
So the total addressable market is everywhere there's an air conditioning unit. That's the way you see.
Ultimately, that's the total addressable market. We're not doing every air conditioning in the world right now.
Right.
But we're picking so we're starting with commercial buildings, and we're starting with those largest pain points in the commercial building space. So dedicated outdoor air systems and things that are the largest consumers of energy. But from a technology standpoint, there is no barrier to the implementation of this technology in almost every air conditioning application that we know of.
So yeah, just to build on that for a second, I think to sort of center all of us where you are on this journey, founded in December of 2017, as you built the idea totally bootstrapped using savings, working out of a garage with your co-founders. 2020-21, you do an accelerator remotely during COVID. Then 2022, then you go raise some venture capital, the $20 million round from Breakthrough Energy Ventures and 2150 VC and Volo Earth Ventures. 2023, you get this global recognition with MIT Technology Review calling you one of the 15 climate tech companies to watch in the world. The only one in Florida.
Yeah.
Only one in the Southeast U.S. I can't remember, but it's...
Yeah, I think we're the only ones in this area.
Southeast U.S., yeah. So now, tell us just, but of course, ultimately, you need to sell units. You need to sell these AC units. You're starting with commercial buildings. Talk about, are you selling some now? If so, to who? And then what's the plan to start doing this at real scale and when?
Yeah. So we are planning full-scale commercial release in 2025. And we're doing field trial unit sales 2023 and 2024. So we are, and the reason I call them field trials is this is a highly engineered product that has a lot of impact, not just to the building and the building owners and the people, but it requires an ecosystem of suppliers, installers, people that can repair systems that need to be trained. And so there's an entire ecosystem that we need to build around the deployment of these systems, which actually creates an enormous opportunity for job creation as we move forward. So the idea is that we're in the middle of the 2023 deployment, and 2024 deployment. We're only going to do up to like 40 units. So we are targeting commercial building owners that are most of them are national key accounts, which means that they have a lot of real estate. that look at our technology as a way to decarbonize their businesses and their building stock from a strategic standpoint. And the idea is, the reason why we're targeting the commercial building space is these building owners own lots of buildings and they own lots of air conditioning and they buy large volumes of air conditioners. So a key thing for those that are entrepreneurs here of the success of an entrepreneurial company is having very high lifetime value of every single one of your customers, in particular early on, because the cost of customer acquisition for early stage technology like ours is very high. So you want to make sure that that ratio of lifetime value of a customer divided by the cost of customer acquisition is as high as possible. So in our case, that's that commercial building national account building owner. We also are trying to localize more and more of the implementation. So we're working with local building owners for the implementation in 2023 and 2024, demonstrating the implementation of our unit in their buildings, making the systems smart such that they actually meet the demands of their building in an intelligent manner. And then and we're also building manufacturing capabilities into 2024. So we have pilot manufacturing up in Boca Raton, but we're about to start doing large-scale manufacturing, and we're making those investments now in preparation for 2025 rollout of units.
So just to sort of bring it home, like an example of where you're putting a unit now, did I read like putting it in a Waffle House or what? Like just
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're doing Wells Fargo, we're doing Waffle House. We have a couple of other clients that they want to announce it together, but yeah, these are very large building owners that have made commitments to decarbonize, but also they want to ensure that their employees and their customers are having the best possible experience inside their buildings. So there's if you think about it, the number one thing you consume inside a building is air, right? And if you are able to change the quality of the air such that you eliminate odors, you can have comfortable people, they'll stay longer, they'll be happier. Those things have enormous effects on how people feel, how they spend money, and also their perceptions of the quality of the service that they're being provided. And so there are organizations that are looking at that very closely. And at the same time, while you're doing that, you are being able to march towards your decarbonization goals.
So let's talk about that for a second. You know, one of the things that we've talked a lot about is how the decarbonization of our economy, the transition to a net zero economy, that this presents the business opportunity of our lifetime, right? And
Absolutely.
here in South Florida, we want to be leaders in that transition, right? We're already, and so it's viewed as sea level rise is viewed as a vulnerability. Let's turn it into a strength. Let's be a place where the solutions are happening. But I'm curious, as you're taking your product to market, is it the sustainability that speaks to customers, or is it, well, it's cheaper, it's actually provides a better lived experience for those who are working in these offices or restaurants that use them? Is it all of the above? And I say
it's an all of the above. It's definitely win, right? So I get to decarbonize, but at the same time, I get to make the life of my customers and my employees better. So they have less sick days, people stay longer, they spend more money. I get to get a dramatic reduction in my electric costs and my operational costs with the unit. There are potential simplifications for the relationship between the building owner and how they operate air conditioning. So air conditioning is one of the things that is complained the most from a maintenance standpoint in buildings. Our technology enables the capacity to switch how that's taken care of and reduce maintenance costs. So all of those things is like you're winning in every single aspect, and that's really important for highly engineered products that are hardware products that are being brought into market. We have to ensure that we provide overwhelming value, right? And so we are designing and approaching the market and the specifications of our units to ensure that we are always beating the competition overwhelmingly in every aspect of it.
So, and just to follow up on that, the venture capital firm, Lower Carbon Capital, Chris Sacca, who started it, talks about how, as we think about this transition, it has to be developing companies that are cooler, faster, better.
Yeah.
And, in a way, it's like you think back, and this might be unfair, and some in this room might push back on this, that, you think about like when the Nissan Leaf was introduced, it felt like the marketing really leaned on sustainability, and that was it, rather than performance or really cool technology. And it sounds like from what you're saying, the thought is that you agree with this, with something like that Sacca was saying, that everything must be better about this, not just sustainability.
Absolutely. I'm really excited about the innovation space that is being opened up in front of us with the need to decarbonize, because it opens up the opportunity to change the physical phenomena that we use to create things. And by that, I mean almost everything. And it gives us the opportunity to do it better. Actually, I was talking to Denier here in the car. Imagine the greatest inventors of our time from like 100 years ago. We bring them to the future, right? And we have Edison, and he sees these lights, and he's gonna be amazed, like, wow, LEDs, who'd have thought? How does that work, right? And Alexander Graham Bell, you give him a cell phone, and he will not recognize his invention in it. He will see his idea there, but if you bring Carrier over and you show them an air conditioner, he would be like, oh yeah, that's the same thing, right? And so we have the opportunity to rethink everything, and in doing so, jujitsu the market in our favor, right? To create incredible new market opportunities, new business models, market verticals, and services that we cannot even imagine today. And that's the best companies have done that, right? That's the Tesla model, that's the iPhone and the phone companies. If someone had told you that your phone would be used more as a text message and social media, who would have thought? Ordering food, like, it opens new technology, changes the rules of the game. So take advantage of the fact that you're changing the rules of the game to be in front of them.
So I'm going to ask just a couple more questions, but please be thinking of yours, and going to turn it over. So just give me 1 second and turn it right over to you guys. I just want to get the policy question in. And by that, I say that as we talk about the transition to a net zero economy, decarb, policy is obviously a big part of it. And here in the U.S. with the Inflation Reduction Act, many view that as an important catalyst. But as you're talking through all of this, it feels like there are parts of the market, and this is one of them, where it feels like market forces alone actually can propel this transition. Is that right? Or actually policy changes would be really, really helpful?
So I would say market forces are driving policy also, right? Policy is very, very helpful to create catalysis for faster implementation of new technology. And we're gonna take advantage of those. But you cannot rely on policy to make you market viable, right? So or else you're at the mercy of the policy. And actually, policy actually does two things. One is, even though the policy doesn't exist today, if you have technology that is not future-proofing you from future policies based on the trends, remember, policy is market-driven too, people are going to start demanding for changes as changes occur, right? So if you haven't felt it yet, you will feel it, right? No one was talking about air conditioning and heat 10 years ago when I started a company. I could see it coming, but the investment in this space was almost none. And the reason is because it takes time for policy and people to realize that there is a crisis brewing or is about to happen or it's already happening. And so if you're a building owner, you want to future-proof your building, not just from the elements, but also from the demand for policy to decarbonize your building that's going to come. The demands for improved indoor air quality that's already here, right? So COVID happened, that changed the landscape of how we think about our indoor spaces. The easy solution of just opening outdoor air into our spaces, made our buildings extremely uncomfortable and created mold and all sorts of other problems. You have to be in front of that also from a consumer or infrastructure standpoint. So that's where policy sort of plays. It pushes the customer, but it also enables technology to go forward. Even when policy hasn't been created, it will be created, and it's just a matter of time.
Wow. Okay, I have lots more questions, but I don't want to, when I see hands going up, I don't want to get in the way of that. So let's start asking some questions. Do we have another?
Thank you. Yeah, hi. So I'm not an engineer at all. I know we have air conditioning at home. It's a box and it cools the apartment. But now thank you for explaining why I feel sweaty and cold, and right now I'm freezing.
Yes.
So the question I have is, maybe I didn't listen carefully. So you're a tech company. So we have all those boxes at home, or huge boxes on top of condos and buildings where the air conditioning is made. Is your technology something you're going to be inserting into those boxes to make it change how it functions? Or are you going to be manufacturing units? And if so, how are you going to be doing the manufacturing? What goes into your units and where are you going to be manufacturing?
Those are fantastic questions. So one, it's a completely new box. It looks a little bit like the conventional box because there are regulations to like how you put something on a roof, and it has to be almost the same. But what's inside is completely different. So the technology is new, and the physics of what's happening is completely new. So we are creating, instead of creating vapor pressure changes of a refrigerant, what we are creating is concentration changes of a salt solution to create the cooling and dehumidification effect. So it's a different thing. Manufacturing. So it does require a new manufacturing infrastructure for this technology. So I cannot just rely on like buying components and like putting them together in a different way. So we are right now manufacturing, have a pilot manufacturing and a manufacturing R&D center in Boca Raton, where we're evaluating manufacturing methods, and we're working with outsourced manufacturers or other manufacturers and suppliers to validate manufacturing methods such that the system can be mass produced and at a low cost. We are in the process of selecting an outsourced manufacturer to ultimately make the key components of our system. And then we also have a partnership with a company called Modern Niagara to make the more conventional side of our system, which is, like integration with standard boxes, standard air conditioning looking things, the compressors and other things, the pumps and valves. Those are being integrated by that manufacturer. All the key technology is manufactured in the United States. That integration is being done in Canada right now. Yeah.
Hey, Daniel.
Oh.
So I just want to give you an opportunity to clarify one piece, which I think is really important to people who aren't in the industry, about why dedicated outside air systems is so interesting as it relates to Florida and the humidity. Why is that, as your first opportunity in the equipment package you're offering, why is that so interesting here in Florida with your technology?
Excellent. Thank you so much for that question. Humidity, so air carries a lot of water. The hotter it is, the more water air can carry. And so the conventional air conditioner only is able to change the temperature of the air, and to drain the water from the air, it has to cool down that air to a very low point, right? So a point that would make it uncomfortable for you to have it be brought into the space. And then it collects. So when you open your air conditioner, you see that there's always water there. And sometimes it gets like bacteria and algae that grows there and you have to drain it. That's the water that is being continuously taken out of the air inside your building. That's most of your air conditioners are just recirculating air from inside. And that's just the humidity that's inside your building. Now imagine the humidity that comes from outside constantly into your building. And your building needs ventilation in order for you to have, good indoor air quality. And so most buildings are bringing around 30% of any air that is recirculated. Around 30% has to come from the outside into your building. And the amounts of those are being changed to higher percentages as based on regulations and standards that are being developed by the industry, in the post-COVID world. Here in Florida, we live, our temperatures are not really that high. Like we live in really hot environments, but the comfort of humans, we feel it, is based on the humidity levels that we are experiencing. Humans evolved to sweat as a way to control to regulate your temperature. And so while temperature is important, the highest impact on your comfort is associated with the rate of transpiration that you can have in your body. And that is 100% a humidity-based problem. In Florida, if we can eliminate the humidity load from the ventilation air, you'll end up with better buildings, but you will also reduce the energy consumption associated with those buildings, but you'll also end up with better indoor air spaces. And the problem is getting worse as the temperature gets higher. The humidity load is growing faster than the actual temperature load for human comfort in buildings.
Daniel, first of all, congratulations for such a fantastic adventure. I have a couple of questions. The first one would be around, are you able to use existing infrastructure to implement your product? My second question is around, you talked about working with other large companies and real estate companies. How are you quantifying the decarbonization of the energy that you are saving? And my third, is your product recyclable? Like, can you give it another life cycle after it's been used?
So yeah, the system is being designed to be a direct retrofit of existing units. So you can either new construction or retrofit. We're able to put our units in. The commercial building market in the United States provides a great opportunity for that because we tend to build things with these rooftop units and dedicated outdoor air units that are just replicated multiple times inside a building, which opens up opportunities for us to create economies of scale right from the get-go. So that's the answer to the first question. Second question was? Yeah, so we have quantified the wide-scale decarbonization potential of the technology using studies together with the national labs and all other organizations like E3 over in California and the California Energy Commission, where we have done evaluation of what would happen if our technology were placed in different types of buildings across large-scale deployments, and what would be the effect to decarbonization, but also the amount of value that we would be creating for society from an economic standpoint, but also from a societal standpoint. So energy savings, elimination of infrastructure costs, elimination of battery requirements to get to your decarbonization goals, all of those things, so the electricity bills that you would perceive into the future, all of those things are taken into account when we do large-scale analysis of impact of our technology. That's in the modeling space, but we're also doing direct building analysis. So we are implementing our units, and they have they're highly instrumented with digital twin technology that allows us to evaluate the impact of our technology vis-a-vis a conventional air conditioner doing the same thing. And that's 2023 and 2024. Why I call it pilot systems are because they're all making that evaluation for the building owner. Now, another thing that we can do, and that we're doing, is that because we can do, we have a lot of flexibility in how we consume electricity and when, and we can control humidity and temperature independent of each other with our unit, we can create intelligence. We can get the data of what the impact of our system is to the people and the space to create AI intelligence to make our unit optimized for the building. And that can be a self thing that occurs per unit, per building, creating mass customization with a single box. And so that's also what we're doing in the implementation of these units. And that will enhance the carbon reductions that we will be able to do. And then recycling, 100%. We use aluminum and steel. The reasons we are picking those materials is because they're 100%. We don't use any material that is in the, that has limited supply or has high impact mining components associated with it. So we're very conscientious of the supply and the use of our materials in our system. Yeah.
Hi, I love all of the technology that you have. My question really does around humidity and mold. So if you can speak to anything around that, because we have a lot of mold problems, obviously, but you have a lot around humidity that you've touched on, but I haven't heard anything around mold. If you could speak to anything around that, love to hear.
Absolutely. The humidity control issue is the mold issue, right? Absolutely. When people opened up outdoor air into their space and they're bringing in almost 100% humidity air into their spaces, right, at low temperatures, they're creating points where in the ducts there's condensation of water that pools, and there's, you go to restaurants and things and you see those tiles and they have a wet spot, right? That's that condensation happening. You go to your restaurant and there's always someone mopping around, right? Like that's because it's raining inside the building. You see the vents in many places, depending on, in certain very high humid days, they have rust all around it, and they have water trails. That's the humidity problem. So if we, so we would be targeting making your buildings not be operating with 100% relative humidity inside of them, or creating opportunities for that condensation to occur. Yeah. Yeah. We will be able to know exactly what the humidity in your building is. We're gonna try to target it so that it's eliminated, right? So you won't have a humidity problem. And if we notice that we're not able to do it, because we're detecting it, we can tell you about it, right? So this is a smart side of things. The services that you cannot imagine that you can do today, that you can do into the future. So you're touching on. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for this insight. How are you thinking about the big picture implications when you acknowledge that the way things have been done is not necessarily the way it's going to be done? And partnering with utilities has ramifications for the equity issue, right? And when we think about what the market is going to amount if all of this is retrofitted at scale, there could be some real implications for who controls this technology, how it's frankly hoarded.
Yeah.
So I'd love to understand what are the principles that you're putting into place to really ensure this is going to be for the common good?
Yeah, a hammer can build a house and kill a person, right? So the same with any technology, and we have made very explicit our mission of the company, and we evaluate any deal based on that mission. And the mission has that we are going to make air conditioning available, advanced air conditioning technology available to everyone, right? Like we want to have everyone to have the option of having air conditioning. And so the who controls our technology is something that we think about a lot in terms of, you're right, like HVAC as a service could create very large, very small group of people that control basically almost every air conditioner. So we want to make sure that that the customer ultimately is in control of that relationship. So we're not signing everything, or we're not creating any relationships that eliminate the power of someone that is actually living with the air conditioner from having control over it. That's how we're approaching it right now. But every legal document, every deal that we're planning on doing, every potential partnership that we're evaluating, we are looking at it from the standpoint of the mission of the company.
So you touched on this earlier. You're starting to prove the concept with large commercial buildings, so think 5-ton units, right? What does the sort of technical roadmap look like to reduce the physical building or physical size of the units such that you can use them in smaller apartment buildings, think like 2 to 49 units?
Excellent. There are two sides to that. One is economies of scale enable investments in tooling that that enable miniaturization, right? So in order to create miniaturization or reduction in size of heat exchanger technology, you need very high surface area. That high surface area require you to have some sophisticated tooling in order to be able to make things very small. That requires investment and R&D that we're working on, and we know how to do it, but you need to ensure that you, on the other side, you're going to get a return on investment associated with that. So it is easier to start with larger units because that investment, the capital investment to get to economies of scale is less, such that you can then move towards the economies of scale, get the economies of scale to make it such that you can make those investments into more complex manufacturing processes that allow to reduce the size of everything, and then eventually go into residential markets and other things. Yeah.
Thank you. Will we see these in apartment buildings by, say, the end of the decade? You know, an apartment building unit, or is it going to take longer than that?
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel, for sharing with us this fascinating journey. I wanted to have your perspective in terms of like two related questions. On one side, I mean, you are definitely an industry disruptor, right? You're breaking up the industry. So on one side, you have your potential clients, and you have to convince them of being early adopters of a technology that they say, wow, but will I trust this guy? Will I have a warranty for 5 years? Will this last? Will I be able to make such a big investment considering the target market that you have? So how are you managing to convince them? And on the other side, as being a disruptor, you have the trains, the carriers, the reams, all those guys that have, I wouldn't call them monopoly, but at least a big chunk of the market saying, hey, this guy is threatening us. Should I buy him? Should I put barriers? Should I make life difficult for him? I mean, I'm sure you're already facing that. So I'm wondering how you're dealing with those two sides of the business equation.
Yeah, you're talking about the crux of the problem. That's exactly right. So the overwhelming value helps to sell even to skeptical customers, because if the technology becomes true, then everything changes, and you should have access to that technology, which will be supply limited in the beginning. So that creates a huge incentive to play early on. And also we are enabling strategic considerations for large building owners at this moment that make it such that they're willing to not, to acquire systems, test the units, and and also guide its development such that it matches the needs that they have for the next 20 years, 30 years. So it's a tricky sales proposition. It takes time to make those types of sales because it requires a lot of evaluation of technology, plus evaluation of the technology impact on a building owner, and how that might affect their entire business into the future from a positive or negative standpoint. So the sales process it has to be done carefully, I guess. But you alluded to another piece of that sales process, is that the technology has two sides to it. One is the dream of the future of what the technology could do, all these new things that your conventional air conditioner just cannot do right now, and therefore I can do that better. And that has value for a certain group of people within the organization. But then there's another group of people within the organization that are more risk adverse, that say, hey, I just buy a train unit, and I just keep on doing exactly what I'm doing before. And so there is natural conflict in the sales relationship between those two groups within every one of those organizations. And so the crafting of the message is the same but different. It's tricky, but one that we've been successful at the moment. I think that the key thing is the unit does what a conventional unit does, but it does it better. So it allows for easy implementation. The other thing is the cost of the unit, the cost to play is not that high, right? If I wanted to do a very large unit for a large data center, et cetera, that is highly customized and there's millions of dollars in order for you to even evaluate the unit, then that's a very difficult sales job because of the level of uncertainty versus the cost to play, right? But because these are commercial air conditioning units, which they're not inexpensive, but they're relatively inexpensive compared to the grand scheme of what this might enable, that it makes it such that the risk associated with implementation of our technology is relatively low. And the fact that it's pretty much a retrofit technology also allows for easy implementation and easy removal if it's necessary. So all of those things actually are thoughts that we had to do at the start of the design process and market targeting process, before we even cut the first piece of steel, how we were going to sell these units and how they had to look and how they had to feel. And then we are validating right now the hypotheses associated with those initial implementations. And luckily, for the most part, we've been right. So that's worked out. How do we deal with Train and Carrier and all those guys? We operate in ways that are faster. What was it? Cooler, faster, better. Cooler, faster, better, right? So that's how you deal with that.
So we're going to go right here, and then who else has a question? Because we have about 5 minutes. So we'll go here. So we have 4 questions in 5 minutes. So let's just try to zip.
So I have just two pragmatic questions, from a user experience. So you mentioned, your AC is going to initially to building owners. So if I'm a condo owner, what is the kind of a display or control I have? Will I get some sort of kind of Nest smart control panel where I can control the temperature, the humidity? That's question number 1. And 2, what is the maintenance looks like? I mean, is it something that I'm going to replace filter every 6 months or something else?
Yeah, filter replacement will be the same. Your control panel will, we will tie with existing building management systems that if you have them. We have partnerships that we're developing with existing building management system controls, so that we don't want to reinvent that interface side of things. However, those systems will have the capacity to do something about the changes that you want to see in your building, because your air conditioner now has that level of flexibility. So if you're a condo owner, you will also experience, so the beauty of creating new technology is that new technology, you can create digital twin models for predictive maintenance right at the start of the design process, rather than doing it after the fact. And so we have done that. So we are developing the capacity to flexibility gives us the capacity to self-heal the unit without user interaction with it. also ensure that we live until a planned maintenance event without user interface, just from remote implementation. And it also, we believe that we will have because we're not doing the same things as the other technology, that we will have lower overall maintenance costs than the conventional technology. But that last one is something that I want to prove out in those 2023, 2024, and 2025 units also.
Thanks. Daniel, so congrats again for the company you're building. I think people don't realize, and you've said this many times, it's not just what you're building, but the whole cottage industry that's going to be created and the opportunity for job creation, especially here in Miami, in terms of installers and maintenance and, thermostats now that are going to control temperature and humidity separately. So I think this is fantastic and so fortunate that you're doing this here in Boca Raton. It's fantastic. I want to give you an opportunity to clarify another benefit that you're working on, which is refrigerants. Those are nasty, nasty chemicals, and you're also helping solve decarbonization through less use of refrigerants. So could you talk about that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So the conventional refrigerants today are over 2,000 times more powerful greenhouse gases than CO2. So very small amounts of refrigerant leaks create an enormous amount of global warming. And so the entire industry is trying to get rid of the conventional refrigerants, but it's actually a very difficult thing to do because, it has to be, the new refrigerant has to be non-toxic, it has to be low GWP, it cannot affect the ozone layer, which was the reason we landed in the present refrigerant that we have right now. It cannot be flammable. So all of those things put constraints on the chemical compositions that we are allowed to use as refrigerant. And those refrigerant changes also would have to create a potential change in all the rest of the equipment that goes into your conventional air conditioner. The industry is under a lot of pressure. We solved this problem already, right? So one is we use much less refrigerant than a conventional air conditioner because the cooling process is actually done with the liquid desiccant. We do have a small amount of refrigerant in our unit that is dedicated to the change of concentration, create this change of concentration of the salt solution. But because it's dedicated to only that, you need very little of it to create that change in concentration. The other thing is our refrigerant never goes into the heat exchangers that see air going into the building. So it never actually goes or has any capacity to go into a building. Eliminating the regulatory requirements associated with flammability, which is the biggest barrier right now for change out of refrigerant to zero carbon refrigerants. So in fact, we're experimenting, for example, with propane and 454B. The air conditioning nerds know about this, but the idea is to switch over. We have a more straight path towards switching over to zero carbon refrigerants than the conventional air conditioner can.
Having such a great technology you are building, and I'm working in digital transformation and data management, and how to use AI for good. And my question is basically now the biggest corporation of the world, Siemens, LG, Schindler, are building the smart homes. So how ready is the market to incorporate your technology into the smart homes, existing smart homes in Florida? And second, how do you partner with other stakeholders and institutions in order to take more advantage out of the big data you collect?
An enormous opportunity. The amount of data, so the digital twinning of this technology enables collection of enormous amount of data. A lot of the data actually has already been collected. There's enormous efforts that have been put by the government and others to know, to digital twin buildings in a mass scale. The issue with AI and intelligence is that you can have a big brain, but if your body doesn't do anything, you still can't do anything, right? So the problem with digital technology and advanced energy technology is we know what could be improved. I wish that air conditioner, I can tell it, I want the humidity to be dropped. Can't do it, right? I want the room colder. I can't do it, right? So the conventional technology tends to be on-off, or at least 1 or 2 settings maximum. We are going to be able to give you the capacity to create the changes that you want, enact strategies of operation based on intelligence that you're gathering from the user experience. And that also creates an enormous market for optimization that goes even beyond our company, for our systems in buildings, for different things. Do you want to optimize for decarbonization? Do you want to optimize for comfort? Do you want to have those changing depending on time of day or season? Do you want to optimize for the grid, grid infrastructure? Like all of those things are new optimization opportunities in the software space that can be applied directly to the same box, opening up new opportunities for business that don't exist right now with conventional air conditioning.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Very fascinating. My question is if you have any plan for European cities specifically. I mean, the EU as European Union has a major plan of creating energy efficient buildings, but it's very challenging at the same time because of the nature of the antique buildings in Europe.
Yeah, we are looking for partners in Europe. We are funded by Breakthrough Energy Ventures and 2150 and Volo Earth Ventures. 2150 is primarily a European fund. So we do have inroads sort of in that space, but we're concentrating close to home because it's easy for us to control technology and also for us to implement. Actually, that's why we want to implement here in South Florida a lot, as much as we can, because it's very easy for us to go see the units, fix the units, change them out, do anything that we need to do in order to ensure that we understand what's happening with them. International markets, we need to create the partnerships that can walk with us in that journey. So yeah, we're open for the discussion if you have suggestions. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. I'm also like 10 feet away from you, so.
No, but they.
Yeah, everyone wants to hear, right? Okay, so this is a question maybe a few people in the room could relate to. As someone who uses air conditioning every day, my two biggest gripes with AC, I think, are like number one, obviously, why am I paying FPL so much money every month? And then number two, I live in an older building, and my air conditioning is so loud. I was wondering, you said it's better, cleaner, faster. Are you quieter?
Yeah, we're super quiet. We don't have a condenser. That loudness, exactly. The condenser, the compressor turns on, and you have this huge condenser fan, and it makes an enormous racket, and it vibrates everything. It's gone. We don't have it. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, first, do you have time to do one more?
Yeah, I have time for one more.
I can speak loud. I have a loud voice. Okay, so I must say I come originally from Europe, and especially Northern Europe, where not every house has an AC. So I personally, still, after living here for over 20 years, I still have a big problem with ACs. And sometimes, especially on colder days in Miami, I'm wondering to myself why there is a need to actually have an AC on. So it's a beautiful day, it's 65, and I'm walking into a restaurant, and it's so cold that I actually think about going outside again to put on my winter coat.
Yeah.
So my first question is, with your technology, is there also a way to actually regulate the overall usage of AC? Because I do think that, especially in the US, there is a high unnecessary consumption of electricity, which AC, apart from outside lighting or whatever, highly contributes to.
Yeah.
So if we talk about all over climate protection, sustainability, saving the planet. So I think, of course, developing ways to improve the AC overall is one way, but I think we should actually start at the grid. So do I really need to put on my AC? Like today, I don't think this room really needs AC at the moment, and not to the degree it's been set up.
Can I tell you the answer to that question? That is a very Florida question. No, seriously. It's humidity. Look outside, right? You would have condensation of water inside your building if you allow that air to come inside. And that you cannot have in your restaurant, and that you cannot have. So why is it freezing? Because the air conditioner, in order to get rid of that humidity, must cool down the air past your comfort point, or the comfort point of a polar bear, right? to get rid of that water, to condense that water out, such that at least you have a space that is safe for you to be in. And that is the reason. It's the humidity problem in South Florida, and that creates the design of buildings that we have.
And lastly, with the electricity
Very
crisis,
quickly,
yeah,
very quickly.
With the electricity crisis, how do you plan because I think it's really interesting what you were talking about for the U.S. market.
Yeah.
Are you also targeting other international markets? And
So are you targeting other international?
Absolutely. The US is the second largest air conditioning market in the world, but the US is a saturated market. The biggest growth in air conditioning loads in the world is happening in India, China, Indonesia, right? And the majority of the people in the world are living in the equatorial belt. And those people need to also have the opportunity to have air conditioning if they want it, because it is a major determinant of your life expectancy to have access to air conditioning, to how productivity, conservation of materials, homes, mold, etc. So we need to transition to those markets. I mean, we have it clear in our minds that has to happen. We are using the United States, we're here, to develop that technology to the point where that jump can happen. But we're making that jump. Absolutely, it must happen.
So first of all, just want to thank all of you. Going around, all those questions were extraordinary. This is just a really amazing group. So thank you. And Daniel, want to, of course, thank you, but want to end with a final question. As you know, with Opportunity Miami, this is all an initiative where we're trying to sort of think about the future, right? As I said at the outset, trying to imagine the Miami of 2040, what we hope that will look like, and what we can do now to create it. As you're building Blue Frontier, this extraordinary company, this extraordinary climate tech company here in South Florida, and you're a father, what do you hope the South Florida of 2040 ultimately looks like?
I would love to see a South Florida that is a beacon of hope for the world in terms of coupling economic development, becoming a place of ingenuity, innovation, and transformation that resolves problems on that are of a global scale. Blue Frontier is trying to do that, but I hope we're able to bring a lot of other companies that can do that. And South Florida is a really good place to do that. One this is an interception of a lot of innovation from an entrepreneurship, but it tends to be by people that are coming and going. But we have the DNA of being problem solvers, doing things our own way. We have enormous diversity of thought and ways to do things. And if we can start channeling that to create a sustainable economy, and one that creates economic development that grows our economy and provides solutions in a global scale, that would be fantastic, which would mean our children will be able to live here happily, have fantastic jobs, live in communities that are healthy and green, be able to aspire and aspire to dream and think about the future in ways that we cannot even imagine today due to the innovation that is spun from our community. And I hope we're able to build that. Yeah.
Let's give a hand for Daniel Betts.